Hey, what's up, guys? Alex here. So, for many years, I have been following various rapid transit projects in the greater Toronto area, and I promised that I wanted to expand my ground and my knowledge of transit planning and urban planning. I have done a lot of research on these projects, and so I'm going to work on my Discussing Transit series. You guys may remember back in the fall, I created my own Toronto Transit fantasy map where I was fantasizing my ideas for rapid transit expansion that maybe could happen within the next few decades. And one of those projects that could happen maybe within the next 20 years is the Line 4 Sheppard Subway extension. Now, back in January, I created a high school style PowerPoint presentation discussing my thoughts on current rapid transit projects across the country. And I've done this similar format to discuss the Line 4 Sheppard Subway. So there's going to be two parts to this video. Well, actually, rather sections. Section one is going to be an overview of the Sheppard Subway from the history to what it is today, and also a brief look at the current proposals to extend the line. The second section will involve going to Google Maps and virtually checking out the corridor and analyzing the density around it, as well as predicting where exactly the stations could be built. So this is something I've had in mind for a while as someone who's really into transit planning. I'm very looking forward to seeing what the future has in store for the GTA. And I'm going to be making more videos like this, as I said. So, with that being said, let's get started. So, starting with the history of the Sheppard Subway, it was first proposed in 1985 under the Network 2011 plan. The original plan called for the Sheppard line to run from Yonge Street, connecting with the Yonge University line, to Victoria Park Avenue. So essentially, the entire line would run within the city of North York. Funding was provided by the Ontario NDP in 1993, with construction beginning the next year. However, in 1995, the Progressive Conservatives of Ontario cancelled the Eglinton West subway line and almost canceled the Sheppard Subway. However, uh, it was pretty much saved thanks to the lobbying of the North York mayor, Mel Lastman, who wanted to bring a subway line to his growing downtown core. Funding was initially rejected by city council, and there were even alterations to build the line only as far as Leslie Street, or even just building the tunnels without the stations or tracks, which was very weird. A revote was taken on the entire project from Sheppard Yonge to Don Mills only, and it was passed by a very narrow margin. Now, politicians were mixed because this line was being built in a growing suburb of Toronto, where at the time there wasn't that much intensification. And like I just said, Mel Lastman wanted a subway line in his city to bring growth to North York. So with that, Line 4 opened on November 24th, 2002. It is 5.5 kilometers long with just 5 stations: Sheppard Yonge, connecting with Line 1, Bayview, Bazarian, Leslie, connecting with the Richmond Hill GO train line, and Don Mills Station. So obviously this line is much shorter than it had originally planned. The line was designed so that it could be extended at both ends, allowing for the eventual construction of the eastward and westward branches, or rather extensions, if it ever happens. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. The stations were built to accommodate 6-car trains, although part of each platform was blocked off since only 4-car trains were needed to carry the amount of traffic, so they knew that the ridership would be very low due to the length of the line. And when it opened, it already received some criticism because it was essentially a incomplete five-stop subway line. They refer to the Sheppard line as a subway to nowhere or a stubway because it's literally a useless subway line in a suburban corridor that at the time of opening lacked urban development, although that significantly changed in the 2010s and 2020s with urban developments being built at almost every station. Now, I have been riding Line 4 quite a bit to, analyze the amount of traffic at rush hour, and there is a surprisingly large number of people that are using this line during the peak hours. Like every time I'm at Shepherd Young Station, like the platform is like crowded, but the only other times I see this line not busy at all is obviously during the off-peak hours and weekends. But the peak periods really tell a different story. And here's a quirky fact: Bizarian is the least used subway station in the TTC network at 3180 passengers daily. In 2018, the entire line saw an average 50,000 passengers um, per average weekday, and post COVID, that ridership fell to about 38,000 daily. Although, like I just said, more and more people are just using the Shepherd line despite the fact that it is just awfully short. Now, like I said, the Network 2011 plan in 1985 called for the line to run between Yonge Street and Victoria Park Avenue, but also the proposal was revised later on to have the line run between Downsview Station on the west side of Line 1 to Scarborough Center Station on the former Line 3 Scarborough RT. But of course, the funding was only approved for the current line as it is today, with provisions essentially made for the future extensions. Now, in 2007, a Sheppard East light rail was proposed instead of a subway extension, and this was part of the then mayor at the time, David Miller's Transit City proposal. And despite various approvals, construction did not proceed. And I'm actually glad this project was canceled because it honestly made no sense to build a glorified streetcar line that would obviously be very slow and unreliable at times. Like, why build a glorified streetcar when you could easily extend the subway into northern Scarborough? So the subway proposal was revived in 2019 under the provincial government, although funding was not promised nor a targeted completion. But things kind of intensified in the 2020s. In 2023, Metrolinx prepared business cases for both the east and westward extensions. The next year, Metrolinx held several public consultations with four routing concepts. And this brings us to a Metrolinx presentation on the results of the public consultations of the Line 4 extensions. So it reads here that Sheppard Avenue is a major east-west transportation corridor that intersects multiple rapid transit lines and is undergoing rapid development and runs parallel to Highway 401 through Toronto. The private automobile is the primary mode of transport on Sheppard Avenue, contributing to congestion and impacting the potential density and growth on the corridor. The transit network on Sheppard Avenue lacks higher order connections to other transit lines and destinations. Users experience reliability issues, long travel times, and must make several transfers for continuous travel on the corridor. No surprise given that Northern Scarborough has been largely underserved by rapid transit. Communities near the Sheppard corridor have lacked rapid transit and have a higher proportion of low-income households and seniors in Toronto overall, with both groups relying disproportionately on public transportation. And there's an opportunity to make transit a more attractive option by extending seamless rapid transit on Sheppard Avenue, increasing connectivity between existing and planned rapid transit lines, and connecting to areas where population and employment growth is anticipated, focus, and encouraged. And investing in a potential subway extension along Sheppard Avenue can improve how residents move through the corridor, shape development, and improve equity within the city by bringing better transit to those who rely on it most. and provide a practical and sustainable alternative to driving. So, uh, great response, Metrolinx. Now, last week I did visit both Sheppard Young and Don Mill stations to try and make a video about this same issue. However, I stumbled a lot when you don't have a script. It's just very hard. And that's why when I'm discussing these transit projects, it's much better for me to just create a PowerPoint presentation and just explaining my thoughts and reading, the text on the slide. So that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. So here are the Sheppard Subway extension concepts proposed by Metrolinx, and they were created for, of course, public feedback, as it says. So concept one proposes a subway extension from Don Mills to McCowan, connecting to the future Line 2 Eastern Extension. Concepts 2A and 2B introduce the Western Subway extension from Sheppard Young Station to Sheppard West Station on the other side of Line 1. So concept 2B really would have happened already if politicians weren't fighting over building a LRT line or extending the subway, right? Because again, Line 4S is basically stuck in 2002. It has remained unchanged since then. It could have very easily been extended to Scarborough by now. And then concept 3 proposes a subway extension east of McCowan Road, terminating at Sheppard and Morningside Avenue. So let me tell you what I think of these concepts. So this is a good start. I honestly think the east extension should be highly prioritized over the Scarborough LRT and other projects in the city, because that corridor badly needs rapid transit. It's northern Scarborough, like I said. Uh, it's been largely underserved by rapid transit, and again has a huge low income population, and it's just seen a lot of high growth lately. And if this line was already extended by now, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion. Now, I'm not sure why they call this a mixed grade subway. Uh, it pretty much means that part of the line will be underground and then like another part would be overground. But honestly, given the density, I personally think whatever they come up with, the alignment should be underground. It doesn't matter. I just think underground is the best way to go. And so here is the second concept showing the eastern extension to McCowan and the western extension to Sheppard West Station. And this also is a good idea because it's to relieve congestion on the busy east-west bus routes, the Line 2 subway, and the Line 5 LRT. However, there's one other addition I would add. So this is my future transit map that I created back in the fall. I did make some very slight adjustments to it, and one of those adjustments was extending the line one stop westward to Downsview Central Station. So I called it that because the Downsview neighborhood is undergoing a significant redevelopment, and it's going to create a brand new walkable community. And I personally think it makes a lot of sense to extend that line into the heart of the Downsview neighborhood as opposed to running parallel to Line 1 and terminating at Downsview Park Station. So Downsview Central would be a completely different station. And then as we go to uh, Concept 2B, this keeps the western extension. However, the eastern extension would run to Scarborough Center Station. Now, Scarborough Center is also seeing a lot of rapid development. Of course, you got the Scarborough Town Center shopping mall and a regional bus terminal with some intercity bus connections as well. Now, the plus side of this extension is that you don't have to make a forced transfer if this line was built to McCowan and Sheppard, and then you'll have to take line 2 one stop south. Whereas with this concept, I need some water. It's just literally a straightforward ride to Scarborough Center. And finally, the eastern extension to Morningside Avenue. And this is a proposal I disagree with because east of McCowan Road there's already a lack of urban development and density there. From that point on, it's just mostly it's just mostly a mix of single family homes and low rise apartments. I really do not think Line 4 will be extended to Morningside Avenue. And also keep in mind, this concept overlaps with the proposed Scarborough LRT, which would supposedly run along Sheppard Avenue East. That's another project that I don't like, and I will make a separate video on that, by the way. So, what is my verdict? Well, it would be Concept 2A. I think, honestly, Concept 2A is a very straightforward alignment. It just makes more sense. So obviously, you build the eastern extension first, and then after that, you get the western extension done. And that way, it's complete. The only downside is that even though the Sheppard line is good, it could be so much better. And I think this is how you can fix the 5-stop subway that is. As you can see, there will be stations at Consumers Road, Victoria Park, Warden, Kennedy, connecting with the Stovall line and Agent Court, and Brimley Station. And then there's Bathurst Station, and I think they could easily add a station at Faywood and Wilmington. However, despite the fact that the stop spacings are pretty much far apart, I'm not sure if that would serve its purpose because it literally serves a low density area. So I'm not really exactly sure if it makes sense. It's just like how they propose of adding like Willowdale Station, but there's just no need for that. The same thing for Bizaria Station too, but of course the urban landscape has really changed around that area. So you get off at Bizaria Station, you'll notice a brand new community center and many new residential developments. So honestly, the future is bright. But if if they just didn't sit in their lazy asses, just like shouting at each other, we would have had this done already. Bottom line is, Line 4 should have been extended 20 years ago when it opened instead of having the 5-stop subway. And we'll have to wait probably 2 decades for this to actually be a reality. All right, guys. So now we're on Google Maps, and we're going to be taking a look at the corridor and using Google Street View to take a look at the development and density surrounding the corridor, and also predicting where exactly the stations will be built. So here's Don Mill Station. It's the current eastern terminus of Line 4. So our first station we have is Consumers Road, and this is a highly commercialized area. Lots of office buildings, commercial buildings around this intersection. There's also a residential neighborhood just on the north side. Now, this is from 2021, so the landscape has changed because a new condo has since been built. I personally think the station entrance will be on this side because look, we have a huge parking lot. There could easily be an entrance to the station right here, and of course, you're steps away from these fairly new developments, and also these typical single family low density homes. But either way, this station would intend to serve the commercial area. And as for bus connections, it would likely connect with the 85 Sheppard East bus and the 24B Victoria Park bus. The 167, which currently runs through here, would probably be rerouted, and that will bring us to our next station, which is Victoria Park North. So now we're right on the borders of North York and Scarborough. And I think they could build the look. They actually recently demolished a building. I think it was an office building, and you probably guessed it. They're going to be building more condos at this space. So I think there would be an entrance here, as well as a bus terminal, and then there'd be another entrance probably around here as well. So if they had a bus terminal, this terminal would serve um, the 167 Pharmacy North and the 169 Huntingwood buses. The 85 Sheppard East bus would just stop on the street itself, and same thing with the 24 and 924 Victoria Park buses. So I could really see more developments being built in that area. Next up, we have Warden North. Although this could be named as Tam O'Shanter for the neighborhood's in. So if you look around here, yeah, there's a little bit of more density in the area. Look, there's a McDonald's and a plaza, but I personally think um, the entrance to the station would be on the northwest corner of Warden and Sheppard. So probably get rid of this gas station. There wouldn't be a bus terminal though, and of course, this station would serve the 85 Sheppard East bus. Again, all stations are going to connect with the 85. I don't think I should mention that, but this station would also connect to the 68 and 968 Warden buses. Moving along here, we have we're skipping Birchmount Road though. Here we have Agincourt Station. So this neighborhood isn't that anything special, but still has the opportunity for growth. So there's the Agincourt Shopping Mall on the northwest corner, and there's many commercial office buildings in the area. However, because of its very close proximity to Agincourt GO Station on the Stouffville line, it's probably very likely that this station would be built sometime like somewhere around here instead. So at least there would be a direct connection to the GO station. And I think an entrance to Agincourt Station would be on this side because I'm not sure why there's a parking lot for trucks here. And then I think there would be like an underground tunnel that would lead up to another entrance, probably here. And that would replace this, whatever the hell this is. And there's another shopping plaza there. I think this station will be huge, right? So you got an entrance there. Maybe there'll be a underground tunnel connected with the concourse and the subway platforms, and then of course you have the connection to the Agincourt GO station, which is of course right here, and they've recently completed some upgrades. Moving along, we have Brimley Station, and there isn't that much development around here. Just the typical commercial plazas and all that shit. Although there is actually a Asian themed shopping office complex there. There's also a parts source and another plaza. Although it's probably likely that the parts source or this plaza here would be demolished to have maybe like two entrances, pretty much on both sides of Sheppard. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention the Agincourt station would definitely serve the 43 Kennedy bus, but that's about it. As for this station, the 21 Brimley would connect to the station. Although maybe I see some of those north-south bus routes being split into separate routes, kind of like how at Leslie Station there's the 51 Leslie heading south, and then there's the 151 Leslie North bus. And finally, we have the line's future eastern terminus at McCowan and Sheppard. And yeah, they just demolished a medical building there, so there's probably going to be a new development and maybe even a new entrance. But there is the site for the future subway station on line 2. There will be a huge bus terminal, and it's pretty evident that the station entrance will be right on the northeast corner, and maybe on that corner as well. And that's pretty simple. Now, as I said, the subway should not extend to this part because, like I said, in this part of town, there's literally nothing here. Just a wide stroad. There's a lack of development in the area. So, how would I replace? Like, how would I fill in the gap? Well, when I created this fantasy map, instead of having the subway extend all the way to friggin' Morningside, I decided to come up with a BRT style option. And this bus route, this BRT line would obviously be very frequent. If anything, I would take inspiration from the rapid bus system in Vancouver and also take an inspiration from the Viva Rapidway system. So obviously, this route would use BRT infrastructure. And I honestly think, even though, like, this neighborhood essentially was just built for cars. I mean, I know for a fact, I know that many people live in that area, and most of them probably do not even own a car. They have to rely on infrequent buses. But if you have a BRT going to the Malvern Town Center, like we have one branch going there, and then another branch going to UTSC because that's not too far. And then, of course, this would be an Eglinton East BRT, which would replace the godforsaken Scarborough LRT. Like I said, I'll make a video on that. And there you go. So this is how I would fix the useless line for Sheppard Subway. What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments down below. Um, Let me know what your favorite concept is, and do you think this extension will ever be built? I think it will. It's just we have to wait 20 years, and I think Line 4 will be an even better line. But for now, we are stuck with a 5-stop subway. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll definitely be making more videos like this, including more PowerPoint presentations. I've got lots more to talk about. I'll just have to think of more ideas. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more videos. Check out my others as well. My mouth is dry. I need to get some water. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care and peace out. Bye-bye.